So over the course of the last year or so, I've been making improvements, modifications to the Gazette. It's one of the benefits you get by being a member because it's only accessible to members. Uh, Plus, it's rather large, and sending it through the email chain would just eat up whatever limited resources we have. So it's a link to that on the first page again is a list of the table of contents for that issue. And there's several features I want to go over. On the second page, we have events past and present and future. On the top there, as I said before, in the past, all we would have were Ken's uh, listing of the events for the month. And once that month was gone, we wouldn't see him again. So now, through the Night Sky Network calendar, we can keep a history of where we've been and see where we're going. In the center of the screen, which I should have highlighted, where's the mouse? Can you see the mouse over there? These are articles that were written by members. Uh, and again, the last one was a travel log by Steve Bellavia, which he so graciously let me republish. We have some members, like Ed Anderson, is very prolific. He kind of does this for a living. And then we've had everything from members like Matt, who had a phenomenal trip to how many national parks did you visit, Matt? You still with us?
Sorry, how many what?
How many national parks did you visit on your North American
Oh,
trip?
there were 7 parks between
Over,
Canada and the United States. It was great.
was that 14 days?
Yeah, just about 14 days.
So again, uh, those are also articles in the issue. It's been a couple of months, so I'm looking for some volunteers. If you have some idea of anything you want, please let me know. At the bottom, you'll see important links. And just to review those, the archive lectures link will lead you to the Astley YouTube channel page. Upcoming lectures is the classic astleyclub.org page on the web, past issues of the Gazette. And I've been posting the slide decks of the presentations when the people have allowed me, and I put mine up there. And this one is currently up there, so that link will lead you to that. And then another link to the full Astley calendar. And this would be, if you were to click on it, this is the current Astley calendar for the month of September. You can then click the arrows at the top to go forward and back. And then you can click on the inside each date to get the information about the meeting. So again, the other way to do it is all the blue hyperlinks on there also will lead you immediately to that listing. So the next lecture coming up is going to be from our fellow Islanders from the Suffolk County Community College. And this is their blurb is what they gave us. So you can come next week and we'll have a better lecture for you. Another feature that I've added in the last couple of months is, and you wanted some pictures, our club members take phenomenal pictures. And I thought, why not show them off to all the members of the club? And what's nice about this is each of those pictures is linked to a larger version of the picture, either on their Flickr site or their AstroBin site, or I've also created a site up on Groups.io for those that don't have either of those. So you can click on any of those images and you can get to see a larger image. What I've also done is last month we had 2 lectures from members, Don Simon and Frank Malullo. They are up on the Astley YouTube channel, and there are direct links by clicking on the icons on that page there. We'll take you right to the lectures. And since we don't pay for YouTube, occasionally you'll be stuck with a commercial before. Do some advertising. So, and then if you noticed last month, I had the most viewed videos. And this month I have all the orphan videos that, have like a couple of dozen views, maybe 30, 40 views. but they're all worth a second look, especially Ken's zero gravity flight. And that's how long ago, Ken? How long ago was your zero gravity flight now?
Boy, I guess it was 5 years ago or something.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen it,
It was like a senior wish thing that I got, and we took off from LaGuardia and went out over the Atlantic, and the airplane climbed up and then nosed over, and we were all floating around.
yeah.
It was an e-ticket.
Yeah.
No.
So again, the YouTube videos are not behind our paywall, so you can go and look at those if you like. Now, what Ken said before, and this is where I'm making some changes, there are several different sites that we go to check the weather. We have Clear Dark Skies, we have Ventusky and the National Weather Service. Now, for Clear Dark Skies, I've set up some links to some of the more popular locations that we visit. So there's no having to go and search for it on the map. You can just click on one of those links and it will take you right to the chart for that location. If there are other locations that you visit regularly that you want added, please let me know. I can always add them. So, but it is open if you have a site you visit regularly and you think other people will be interested. And we also have Astrospheric. Again, I've picked the 9 most popular places on the island and again, Cherry Springs right there in the middle. So again, you don't have to go hunt and peck. You can just bring up the issue, click on that page, and it'll take you. And in fact, what's nice about this is you can, when you're clicking on it, it'll bring up another tab on your window, and you can go back and you can keep adding tabs uh, to it, so you can compare all the different sites at once by just clicking on different tabs, depending on how you have your browser set up. I have it set up to have it under separate tabs. If you have it set up to keep replacing it, it's not going to. So, I mean, does that anybody find that useful? Hopefully. Okay. Yeah, I figured because I was like, okay, and you don't have to worry about it, and it's always the latest. Well, that doesn't change. So it's whatever the current weather is for that day. And if you're want to look ahead, then you'll have to, once you get to that site, you can then change the parameters. So also in this issue, I like to find some unusual articles. I'm trying to cut down on those. I know people have said that there were too many articles. So I've tried to limit to what I think are the most interesting. There's a nice story about Sagittarius the Archer, and that's coming from earthsky.org. And again, at the bottom, if you wanted to read the full story, it's a hefty excerpt from the article, but you can read the full article and any pictures and graphs they have associated. And then Night Sky Network also puts out a monthly article. This one is Seeing Double Stars. Again, we're still in that time frame, so now would be a good time to go out and if you give you some ideas about what to look for. On the other side, again, couldn't get enough of the pictures. We had some interesting pictures with the sun and the California clouds, smoke from there. So it created some interesting sunsets. Again, we have pictures, and of course, it's the editor. I put myself in there, but I think they're pretty interesting. We have Nancy Rosigliano, who is very prolific in both nature and astrophotography, and that's one of hers. And then our own, we have Steve Bellavia, also a member. Is he? Yeah, you're out there, Steve, right? I saw you.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I saw the link that they sent. I know that was. Yeah, she does a good job. Yeah, somebody's saying Nancy Siciliano made the News 12 broadcast with one of her images of Saturn, which is very good. So again, like these, you can click on these images and you'll get the larger pictures. And Steve Elvey is another one out there. He's very. Oh, you muted yourself again. Any comment? Anything you want to say? Like history or how you got these pictures or?
Well, the one on the right is Cherry Springs, which is, one of the few dark places left on Earth. So, so since someone was talking about dark skies, if they get a chance to visit Cherry Springs State Park, it is a International Dark Sky Association certified dark sky park. So before their skies get ruined, get there.
Thank you. Okay, a couple of other interesting articles. I don't know if I saw this one. I said, really? Did meteorites create the moon's atmosphere? Another earthsky.org article. And then there's another site called seasky.org. And there's a calendar of events. Now we're pretty much halfway through the month of September. So, you can ignore the first half of what's in the list, but there's still some interesting objects to view. On the right, Earthsky had a whole section on the summer triangle. Again, I've highlighted some of the more interesting portions of it. And again, if you click on the summer triangle words, you'll take you right over to them. And then this was mentioned earlier, but there was the 6 planets in early September. So what night was that? It says on September 1st, or I guess it's past, but from sunset, you could see Mercury all the way over to Neptune. I think it was Neptune. In one sky at one time, which was very interesting. And then again, you can click on like the top picture is actually a video, which will take you to the link of the video. So don't feel free, go ahead and click on anything you see on there because I try to make things a little interesting. So that's a cute little video. And then again, since those pictures are rather small, you click on the picture and you can get see the larger version of the picture so you're not blind like I am. And there's, again, the beginning of the month, you had Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune, Saturn, and Jupiter all in the night sky at one time. Okay, again, a little article about us recently joining the Night Sky Network. Now, I don't know if anybody had seen this. I saw this, the May solar storms have created at least a temporary third Van Allen belt, which I thought was interesting. There's an article if you want to read about that. And on the next page is the earthsky.org calendar of events. And on the last page is a list of all the lectures that are up on the ASLE YouTube channel. So again,
Holy cow,
we,
that's awesome. Really?
yeah. And most of those hyperlinks still work. So, but if it doesn't work that way, you can just go to the ASLE YouTube channel and then hunt and peck for them. For some reason, some of the hyperlinks just don't want to work. And that's a close-up, so if you couldn't read the little print. And again, if the last one, Frank Malillo, you click on his, and there's his lecture, and you can listen to that. Another, where the files are stored, they're up on the groups IO. This is, again, if you go to the page where I've saved all these lectures as PDFs, you can actually highlight, cut and paste these so you don't have to write all this stuff down. And again, it's up there for you under ASLE lectures. And then also you can see where the ASLE Star Gazette past issues. Let's now start our lecture of what's in the night sky for September. Once a month we do this. Usually it's at the first of the month, but last week we had our observing session, which actually turned out to be very nice. Tonight actually would have been another nice night to have observing. But we try to do it when it's a new moon, so we have better chance of seeing things. We do it up in the parking lot. So that's welcome. You're welcome to come. Just check our calendar when we're having it. If the skies are clear, we will be there. And it's open to everybody. So we're going to just ignore this one because, again, the month is half over. But you might have, this is from inthesky.org. It's another website that I use. Find things to look at. And they create a nice calendar. But let's start with the second half of the month. Uh, as you can see, with the moon at aphelion, and then we have the closest approaches of moons. There's a occultation of Saturn by the moon, but only if you're on the west coast and if you're over Australia. Here, occultation, thank you. An occultation is when one object covers or obscures another object. So in this case, the moon will be passing in front of Saturn. So what you'll see Saturn disappear on one rim of the one edge of the moon, and depending on where it is from the diameter, it'll appear opposite on a straight line sometime later. Now, from our perspective, we're going to have what they call a conjunction, which means it's going to get close to the moon, but it's not going to be, the moon's not going to pass over it. So is passing from here, from what I can read, it's 18 minutes to the north of Saturn, and the moon will be 14 days old. So it's going to be pretty bright. It's going to be getting near full moon. But some of us out here are the photography challenge to get the moon. I have one of the Mars and the moon. And actually, you can see some definition of Mars, which I was actually amazed. But we have, I'm expecting some good photos for my next issue from Steve or from Bill. Uh, those are planetary photographers. Oh, this is what it's going to look like around midnight on the 18th. The nearest location that they give us is Hicksville, so which is close enough for government work. Now we have a couple of other approaches, the moon and Jupiter on the 23rd. It's going to pass within 5 degrees, 48 minutes. The moon will be 20 days old. And then another one on the 25th. And the moon and Mars, it will be 4 degrees, 52 minutes apart. And the moon will be 22 days. Now, here's an asteroid that's reaching opposition on the 29th. It's asteroid 20, Massalia. I'm reading this now, so you'll have to bear with me. It's a stony asteroid, the planet of body of the Massalia family. Am I saying that correct? Located in the inner region of the asteroid belt. It's about 90 miles in diameter. It was discovered in September 19th, 1852 by Annabel de Gasparis of the Naples Observatory. It was found independently the next night by Jean Charnock of the Marseille Observatory. And Charnock's discovery was announced first, so that's why the French name, Masilla, also sometimes spelled with an I. And what's interesting about this asteroid, it's the first, well, traditionally, they used to use iconic symbols to describe celestial bodies. And this is the first asteroid that not only did not use a iconic symbol, it was not named, there's a kind of symbol, and it was not named, it was the first non-mythical name, because a lot of the objects back then, like Mars and Jupiter and stuff, were, again, from the Greek and Roman gods. The Masilla is the namesake of the parent body. It's a very large belt between the orbits of Earth and Mars. The remaining fragments were ejected during the event. It orbits the sun at a distance of 2.1 to 2.8 AUs, 1 AU being the distance from the Earth to the sun. So we're in no danger of it colliding with us. It has an orbit of 3 years and 9 months, and it has a rotational orbit of 4 hours Well, it doesn't say it in here. But the picture on the top left is was a light curve graph that it generated. So it's not an actual hard image, it's just the way the light reflected. So the axis of what the light curve is the light intensity of a celestial object or region as the function of time, typically with the magnitude of light received on the y-axis and time on the x-axis. So the light is usually in a particular frequency interval or band. So from that, they can determine its relative size, even though it is not an actual picture of the asteroid.
Steve, may I interrupt for a second?
Sure.
Yeah, I was just looking at this and thinking about, okay, what can a visual observer do? I'm looking at the magnitude 9.2 is pretty faint. You have to have a rather large telescope to see it. And
Correct.
even with a large telescope, the light pollution might prevent you from seeing it. But I can see somebody taking images of that area of the sky on back-to-back nights and then seeing, okay, one object has moved from one position to the next, and you just determine that you discover that particular asteroid. So it might be an interesting thing for observation.
I agree. That's why I pointed it out there. I know we have, I think, Steve Bellavia, are you still doing your that research?
Yes, as soon as we get the mount back from Celestron for the second time, we are going to continue our minor planet studies. And this would be a nice one to study if we get it back quick enough.
Okay.
Yeah, but we go down to magnitude 20, up to magnitude 20, as dim as magnitude 20, with the 8-inch f4 with 30-second exposures. So magnitude 9 is easy with the telescope, with the imaging telescope. Visually, I'm not sure. That sounds like maybe a 6-inch scope should be able to do it. I don't know. What is magnitude 9 versus aperture?
I think 6 inch in completely dark skies, yes, but
Yeah.
the skies in Long Island.
Yeah. So
Well, maybe from Custer or Orient Point.
yeah, maybe somewhere darker in a slightly larger scope could do it.
All right. I'll leave it to you.
Thanks. We'll get right on it. Asteroid 20 Massalia. No, we like to do this stuff, and it's nice to have, there's so many targets to pick. It's nice to have a motivation for why you picked one, and we can say we picked it because of this meeting, and then we'll post it. No.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I'm going to spend a little time on zodiacal light, or something known as the false dawn. Now, you might have heard that phrase before. It's a cone of light that appears above the horizon just before sunrise or just after sunset, depending on the time of the year. It's best to see it now or around March during the equinoxes. It said you'll need a dark sky and the moonlight can interfere, so start looking for it. We do have some darker skies, like I said, out Custer and Southold. There's Orient Point. I don't know if Jones Beach or Robert Moses, if that might be dark enough to see it. You could try it. It's also known as the false dawn. Words together. It's a cone-shaped eerie light above the horizon, and for the weeks around September and March, again, I'm repeating myself. Northern Hemisphere, you want to start looking now in the early morning before dawn breaks. Look to the east. Most visible, like I said, around the equinoxes. I guess if you're lucky, you might see it when you're driving, if you're on some dark street off of the island someplace. Now, the question is, what is it? So originally, people thought that it was something that originated in the Earth's upper atmosphere. They thought of it as a meteorological phenomenon. They thought that the light was reflecting off grains of dust that orbit the sun in the inner solar system, which it is, but Originally, the scientists thought that these grains were left over from the creation of the solar system 4.5 billion years ago, or maybe from some comets or asteroids. Recently, they discovered that is not the case. The dust grains do trace out a path along the ecliptic. They also trace a path to Mars. So it's likely that these dust clouds are coming from Mars. Mars is notorious for its dust storms, and with its lighter gravity, probably a lot of that dust does make its way out in space and gets pulled in by the gravitational forces of the sun. So, the grains of dust can range anywhere from a meter, according to this, a meter size to micron size. It's not the only light associated with this. There's also something called and Dave, you're going to correct me, Gegenschein. Gegenschein. I'm amazed myself. It's an illuminated. It's an illuminated spot, possible to glimpse in very dark skies. It's the center point directly opposite the sun or the anti-solar point. But seeing such an elusive sky phenomenon as a Gegenstein is difficult. Most of us only see the more obvious part of this dust band, the zodiacal light.
The one that I saw looked almost, at one point, there was the Milky Way and the zodiacal light, and they were similar in shape. And I think I saw it maybe at 10 or 11 at night.
What time of the year was it?
I knew you were going to ask me that.
Like the sun setting at 9
Yeah. I cannot remember.
Well, it's saying it should be around the equinoxes, so it's either in the spring or the fall. So if it's
Yeah, it was either the spring or the
the
fall.
fall is in the
forget.
morning, the spring is in the evening.
Sorry. I do have a photograph of it, and if I find that, it'll have a timestamp.
Again, I put links to all this on the screen, and you can cut and paste that from the Groups IO page. So you can examine that yourself. So we're getting to the end. Before I was mentioning about degrees and minutes and seconds, and I came across this site, how to calculate the angular distance. So if you wanted to figure out where they come up with these numbers, you can actually plug in your right ascension and declination of any two objects, and that will give you the amount of minutes, degrees, minutes, and seconds. And then on the bottom is a quick guide to determining what the distance is. Pinky finger would be 1 degree. Your 3 fingers up is 5. The fist is 10. I don't know what that's.
It's 2 fingers.
2 fingers.
spread,
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the devil's horns. Be 15, and
It's amazing how accurate that is, actually,
Yeah.
considering all the different sizes of hands. But you hold
Well,
your
it's
hand at arm's
at
length.
arm's length proportions work out, and then you do that. And again, I have the links to those as well, so you don't have to memorize any of this. Also, being part of the Night Sky Network, we have this nice chart that you can download and print out yourself. It's got some interesting facts on here that you can use. Again, over here on the right, just collect all this, and then you can just put it in the URL. And to close,
I bring you a warning. Every one of you listening to my voice, tell the world, tell this to everybody wherever they are. Watch the skies everywhere. Keep looking. Keep watching the skies.